Hello, this is Olivier for a new video. I have seen recently on the vinyl community a video from René in Spain, which was a thread on the topic heavy metal, and originally the thread is coming from Wargod 60 Kevin, which I didn't know the channel, so René put the link in his video and I will definitely check out. So I decided to do this video on the thread heavy metal, and I looked in my collection to choose some records which could fit to this thread. So first thing, of course, it needs to be heavy metal records. And then look, I had to do a choice, right? And I didn't want to say, look, I will put the albums which I like, because in general all the albums I have I like, some of course more than others, but I don't have things in my collection that I dislike. So I decided to go for records which means something special for me, which, depending on when I acquired them or where I acquired them or when I listened first time to them, where I have a special memory. So I'm starting the heavy metal, so with a H, and I started with Halloween Walls of Jericho, which is one of the first album of let's say a bit more speed metal, which bring me somehow to thrash metal. It's not really thrash metal, but it's in between a bit a more classic heavy metal like Maiden or whatever, which I might have listened to a bit before. But Halloween, I was maybe 14-15 years old when I listened to Halloween the first time, and it was this album. Next one, Exciter, same period, and it's really my preferred album from Exciter, and it was one of the first records I acquired when I was a teenager, and I listened a lot to this one. Really great album. Next one, Accept, Restless and Wild. I love Accept, and I have a special memory on this album, one song in this album. I have, by the way, I put it twice because that's the German cover and that's the French cover, which are different, but it's the same album, the same songs, and really good songs on this album: Fast as a Shark, Restless and Wild. And I choose this record for the A because again I love Accept, but as well for this specific song, Princess of the Dawn, which is really one of my favorite songs from Accept, and I have special memories on this song with friends when I was again a teenager, 16-17 years old. I had a friend which was a bit older. He had a car, a Peugeot 104, and we were driving his car, banging the heads and listening to Princess of the Dawn from Accept. So that was for the A. Then we come to the V, and as I'm French, and probably most of you already get it, right? And because of my accent, I decided to go for this band, which is called Vulcain, which is a French band, heavy metal band as well, really good band. And this album in particular, most of the songs are French titles, Sur la route, Comme des chiens, which nobody will really understand if you're not French speaker. But then there is one title, one song which all of you will understand, and that's probably the song which make them famous in France. So, Vulcain. For the next one, the Y, I went for Y&T. Y&T was shown by René as well. To be honest, I don't have a lot of Y. I was looking maybe Ingrid Malmsteen, but is it a Y, is it a M? So I decided to go for Y&T. It's a good album, and this album specifically I have a special memory because it's the Red Frame, which was a special series in Brazil, and I bought this album in Brazil. And if you watch my videos, you know that I spent quite some time in Brazil, and I have really good memories from Brazil and from the shop I have been. Next one, we come to metal. So M was difficult for me because there is a lot of bands starting with M, and I decided to go for this one, Manowar, Fighting the World, great album. And look, I put this one because at one stage I was really in heavy metal, thrash metal when I was a teenager, and then when I turned 20, I started to go more for classic rock, 70s hard rock. All the Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath and everything. And I have a friend which brought me back a bit to metal when I was 22, 23, some years later. And he was a big fan of Manowar. His name is Mick, and so I have a special memory on this band and his record, Fighting the World, which is a really, really great one. Next one, Elf. I mean, I love Ronnie James Dio, and Elf was one of the early bands from Ronnie James Dio, which, by the way, on the record has still his real name, Ronald Padavona. Yeah. You look at the guys. I was struggling to realize who it is, so not sure. I think that's Ronnie James Dio. So if I'm wrong, please let me know, because I had a doubt, right? But Elf, a really great cover. I was looking for this record for some times. And why a special memory? It's because I had a friend, I have a friend which I didn't see for many, many years now. But, when I was, 25 years old or whatever, I was often going to his home and we were listening to records. He was kind of 15 years older than I. And he grew up in the 70s, right? So, and in his collection he had this Elf record, and I knew Ronnie James Dio from Dio, of course, and from Black Sabbath, but I didn't know, I'd never heard Elf before, and that was the first time I heard Elf. And since I was looking for this record, which is relatively hard to find. Then we go to the T, and here I had to choose again a French band, because some of you might know this band, and look, it's a French band, but Trust, a really, really, really good band, probably one of the most renowned heavy metal band in France. If you're not French speaker, you might not, you definitely will enjoy the music, but the lyrics are as well really important, and unfortunately, if you're not French speaker, it will be difficult to understand. But they did as well English versions of most of their albums, and I have all of them in my collection because I love Trust. I might do a video once on Trust. If you have some interest on Trust, let me know, and I will be pleased to do a specific video. But for those who don't know Trust, I mean, Antisocial, that's their most famous song, definitely. And for those who don't know Trust, you probably know the song, or you have heard about the song Antisocial, because some bands, Anthrax did a cover of Antisocial, and Anthrax, and this cover again is from Trust, right? So there are some other stories around Trust. I mean, Nico McBrain from Iron Maiden was the drummer from Trust as well for some time, right? So Trust, really, really good band. I highly, highly recommend. Again, they sing in French, but again, the music is really good. The lyrics are great if you understand them. If you don't, I would still recommend to stay with the French version, because the English version, they did it to try to get international, I guess, but in English it's just not sounding the same. Next one, A, and I decided to go for Amon Amarth, which I really love this band, right? I have seen Amon Amarth on stage first time, maybe 6-7 years ago, 8 years ago. I was in France in a big festival. There were something like 50,000 people around, and I was really impressed. I really loved the music. I loved the voice of the singer, and and then I started to listen on it on YouTube, and I started to buy some records. And when I was in Brazil, there was one day I saw that on internet, Amon Amarth, which came on concert in Porto Alegre. So, and that's the concert I was. So I saw them a second time, that was I think 2 years ago almost now, in Brazil, Porto Alegre. And for the story, I mean, it was a great concert. So I have seen them first time in a crowd of 50,000 people, right? Here in Porto Alegre, it was in a small venue, in a kind of club, and there were maximum 200 people around. So I think being in a small club with 200 or less people watching Amon Amarth was really a strong memory for me. Last one, Loudness, which is a Japanese heavy metal band, and that's by the way what we are listening to in the background. I put this record because again I love Loudness. I mean, they did several albums and that's as well my preferred one. And I have as well a special memory here because early 90s I was invited for dinner by a friend, and I was with another friend. We were both listening to records. I would not say collecting records because it was early 90s. We were listening only to records. And I was a student, I didn't have a lot of money, and my friends I was invited to, he was already working, and he just acquired a CD player, right, in the 90s, and a brand new CD players, and he was buying a lot of CDs. And he said, oh look guys, I mean, you know, I don't listen to my records anymore. I know you're a student, you cannot afford to buy a CD player or whatever. I give you my collection. So he had probably something like 30-40 records, which he gave to me and my other friend, and then you know, we had to fight or to decide which record will go to whom, right? And I went for this one, Loudness, which I didn't really know before, and yeah, again, as I said, really good Japanese heavy metal. So I hope you liked my contribution to this thread, and look, I will do new videos soon, and yeah, speak to you soon. Thank you.